Hello everyone, welcome to 2 and 3D. So from the last part we went through, sketched part of the character, the body of the character, drew on what we sketched, made it more bold, um, drew his face, drew his eyes, the facial features, the nose, skipped the mouth. I did not do the mouth, and then a few things, then painted and some other few things, and that is where we are now, right now. So what we're going to be doing now is arranging each object in layers. So the first layer we're supposed to create is the character layer. So that one you actually use a layer, so you definitely just go down and create a new add a new layer, and then under that, every other thing we're going to be doing underneath that would be groups, not layers, because it's way smarter for you to stop using layers, that is if you are, and adopt groups instead, because there are just numerous advantages, and I think I've talked about some of them, but that is not going to stop me from talking about some of them right now. So one of the advantages I like is even if a group is invisible, you can select everything, including that invisible group. So something like what we have on the screen right now, some of those are invisible, but you could still see that I could select them and even move them and transform them to whatever I want. So the first thing I did was, after creating character layer, that is the real actual layer, you make it plus character because you want that to be independent. Underneath that, you select everything that we have, you drag everything underneath that, but now you select everything that we have there, and then you group it, and then you make that plus, right? Because we still also want that to be independent. And then we go in, and then, even though I've not done this on screen, but let me just explain it. You go into that, and then you group the facial feet, like the face, everything about the head, everything within the head or in the head, you select all of them, and then you group it, and then you create head, and then you select everything that is in the body, the torso, the legs, and the crotch, and some other few things that you might add in your own case. You select all that, you group it, and then you make the body. But now under the body, the group you have, the group we drew as torso, you name that torso, and then the legs, you drag every single leg, the upper leg, the lower leg, and the shoes, and then you drag it into one leg. So I'm sure you're going to see that, and you're going to understand what I'm saying. So now for the facial features, for the face, actually I create one head, and then I group everything within that head and create another head. So there is a head and a head, and that is important, especially when you're actually going to be making left, right profile, frontal, and whatever profile you want to create. Then I go into the head under head, and then I create an FFT. I group just the facial features, the eyes, the nose, the brow, if brows are available in yours, and then I drag it, and I group everything together and rename that FFT. And then for the face, I drag just the remaining face, in this case the beanie, the face, and then maybe the crease on his face. Those you also select those, you group those, and then you name them face. So just watch the screen keenly, just watch what I am doing, what I'm renaming, what I'm moving, what I'm selecting, all those things. Just try as much as possible to follow that. And if you want to skip all this, you could go get any of the characters. All my characters are made this way, because after creating characters for years and years and years, I ended up realizing that this is the best method you can do. There were ways I used to arrange my characters before that were good, but I ended up running into some issues like that. But with this one, you cannot run into any issues. You would be able to handle everything. Any issue arise, you just need to come in and fix certain things. So everything is already arranged, is in order, and you can add things to your characters. That is why I was talking about the left profile, the right profile, and then whatever. You can do the full body profile, so you can do a left, right, center, frontal, back character. Even when you just have one profile, you can come in and make that a separate layer on that character. And then if it's for the head, you want to create profiles for the head. Already we have head, and then underneath that head is head. So you could create more heads under that head. So this is the best way you could rig your character so far, your puppet so far that I know of. So I've arranged the eyes in order, named them wide, made the wide eyes wide, made the normal eyes, the default eyes normal, and then I started doing 2 3 3 3 2 3 1 3 and then close. The reason I, instead of just putting the eye, just saying almost close like that, instead I just use 2 3. I just use number to indicate that the eyes are almost closed. So that's basically it. And then I duplicated the last 2 layers. That is the closed eye and the one closest to closing, like the part I drew, the eye I drew, that is the closest to closed eyes. I dragged both of them, that's I duplicated them, and then I grouped them, and then I made them into a cycle trigger. So I'm going to be using that as a cycle trigger, so that the eyes doesn't just jump from wide to close at once. So that is one advantage of doing something like that. So that's basically it for the head. Actually, I've finished covering the head, and just take note of some of the arrangements that I made, like putting the iris above the eye. Those are important because when we come to rigging, we're going to be masking the eyes into the iris into the eyes, so that you can move the iris and it will still stay within the eye shape. So that is another thing you just need to take note of. But so far we're doing fine. So for the body, like I explained, you select everything that pertains the body, the torso, the upper leg, the lower leg, and then you group it, and then you create a body. And then you name the torso, and then for the crotch you can name it crotch. But now we have a leg up, leg down, like upper leg, lower leg, and then shoes. So you select all those 3, you group them into one layer, and then name them leg A or leg B. In this case it is leg B because it's the leg, is the second leg, at least from my own point, from where I'm standing from. It is the second leg. So instead of using left and right legs, which changes over time, like when I'm making my character, sometimes after making the character I'll have to flip the character or whatever, so left becomes right, like that. Instead of doing that, I just realized that the best way to do it is to name it leg A and leg B. So leg A is a leg in front of leg B, and it's almost always like that. Even when the character is flipped, the leg A is always in front of the leg B. So it's just better that way, instead of using left and right, which can actually change eventually, and when you flip the character. So that is basically it. So now for the leg, what I did was I just duplicated it, and that is better when you drag it and then you bring it down a little, just for perspective sake. They bring it down a little, and if you notice, it will not really work because the upper leg goes into the shirt, which is not what we want. So we have to drag that particular point. So that's what I'm going to select it, go into isolation. I like going into isolation just so that I can see things clearer. So always you could just be using that all the time. I use it all the time. So now went into isolation, and then now I'm dragging that portion. You could just redraw it if you want, but I'm a lazy artist, so I do what I can. So I just dragged it down, and that works perfectly actually. Perfect. So everything is looking good, but now we have everything arranged, but we do not have the mouth, the eyebrow, and the hands. Well, initially I wanted to just pick one mouth from a different character I had created and just slap it on this character, because I have created a mouth that is way similar to what we have here. But I decided against that, because since this is an A to Z tutorial, a tutorial that is supposed to do from scratch to end, like from a blank canvas to a final product, that's to the puppet, I decided to just go in and draw them out. But I am definitely not going to be doing the hands. I know I did not do the hands because that's a bit more complex. Maybe I'll make a separate tutorial for that one. But hands, really a nightmare. So but you could still pick. If you want, you could go on the site, get a character, and then you could reuse their hands. From what I did in this tutorial, it's way easy for you to understand, so you'll be able to understand how to reuse hands. So that's actually cool. Okay, this is one of my characters, and I decided to pick his mouth, and I dragged it to just copy it. You just Ctrl C and then Ctrl V in your puppet, and it should be able to copy the entire mouth shape to your own puppet. Or alternatively, you could drag it to your own puppet. So I scaled it to shape, but then I realized that okay, instead of doing that, maybe I should just create the mouth from scratch. So even if you want to create a mouth from scratch, I would say don't go through the stress of doing it like from your head. In fact, I will never advise any artist to draw from without a reference. You should always use a reference. Just especially an artist that is improving, so that you can keep improving, because drawing from your head doesn't really improve you that much compared to when you're drawing from actual reference. So what I did with this mouth is I used this mouth to remake the mouth on the screen, that's on this particular character. So in a moment you will notice that you see that I will drag the mouth to the side so that I can use it as reference while I'm creating my own mouth from scratch. But there are two methods I use to create mouths. One method is I just go in and draw the shape, which is what I did for this particular mouth. I went in this mouth you're seeing currently. I hand drew it, so every single mouth shape was hand drawn. But then that is not an easy method, and it needs so much drawing knowledge, and I'm trying to reach, or at least I want this video to reach to. I want people who maybe are not very experienced in art, people who do not are not conversant with art, to be able to get into animation, get into drawing and stuff like that. And I believe most people actually watching this are not that maybe not very good with art. Even myself, I'm not so good with art, but I do try once in a while. I would say you should also try to draw them out yourself, just so that you can improve as an artist. But I'm just going to show you a different method of doing it, an easier method of doing it that will do the job fine actually. So in a moment I'm going to go into isolation, exactly, because I do that a lot. It makes my work way easier, so I don't have to worry about touching something I do not have to touch, dragging this and that, like transforming this and that. So it's always better to just go into transformation so that you you have like a blank slate, and then you draw, and then you like get out of it, and it's where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to draw the upper lip. So just draw the upper lip and just imagine that the lower lip is not there. Just draw the upper lip. Now you draw the lower lip. You lock that layer. Make sure you lock that layer, because if you use the same color, the same black, it's just going to continue the art. It's going to merge it into one. So I'm still drawing the lower lip now, and I'm drawing it. I'm ignoring the upper lip like they're separate objects. So now I have the upper and the lower lip, and I can just go in and paint it, because now these are objects, separate objects with closed lines. So I could go and paint it. So, and that's what I just did here. Paint the upper lip also, and boom. When I have, basically this is a default, this is the neutral position of the mouth. So you could just easily drag this to the neutral position, and boom, you're fine. But what I did was I duplicated it, because I'm going to be reusing that. Duplicated it, then adjusted it. So I moved the lower lip down and moved the upper lip above, because that's how it's supposed to be. And then now I can drag it to the neutral position, to the neutral group. You could just drag it to the neutral group. So now we have the neutral. Now we're doing a different mouth shape. I believe this is Wu. Yep, this is Wu mouth shape. So I'm recording this, and the quality is actually low. Not the quality of the video, but when I'm recording on Adobe Premiere Pro, just for smooth, for the sake of I want the recording to be smooth. So what I do is I reduce the quality of the video, so I'm not really seeing clearly. So pardon me if I'm actually wrong about what I'm actually seeing, because it's hard to read what is there currently. But this video will be uploaded in the highest quality, so you should be able to see the bars, the tags bar, and whatever bar is there. So the layer bar, and all the stuff. So now to draw a Wu, you see I used the puppet tool, and I'm manipulating the lower lip. The upper lip, you hardly manipulate that. The upper lip hardly moves when you're talking. It moves a little, so sometimes it's insignificant, and for animation, stuff that insignificant can be left out. So you could actually not even move the upper lip, and the character will be fine. But there are certain shapes that the upper lip has to like, you have to adjust the upper lip for that, just so that it looks way natural. So in this case, I actually decided to like move the upper lip a little, just to show that it's a Wu. I ended up adjusting this eventually, because a Wu is supposed to, the mouth is supposed to be like smaller, like the mouth is pinched in, sort of like it's supposed to go in a little, like into itself a little. So I ended up fixing this later on, but for now just understand what I'm doing. So I'm using the puppet tool, and I'm manipulating the drawing just to fit into this. And then now to draw the back of the mouth, I just sampled that color, and then paint over that opening, and then drag that new part, drag it behind, and boom, we have a Wu shaped mouth. So, and that is what I did, and that is how I created all the other shapes. Manipulated certain points using the puppet tool, and then we got all our shapes. So this R shape, this is R, I believe, or is this one of them? Is it that or R? So now it's the same thing. You pick the default, you start manipulating. So just delete whatever points that you do not need, and you drag it out. Then you drag whatever point you need just to get that shape. And then now we have teeth. In this case, at least for this particular character, we have teeth for this particular mouth shape. So now we'll have to manually draw teeth. You could draw the teeth and reuse it. That's the purpose of this tutorial. It's supposed to make things easy for you to do. So what you can do is is draw the teeth, draw the upper teeth separate, draw the lower teeth separate, and then we have a teeth now that you could use eventually for other shapes, because teeth is a recurring shape, especially for the mouth. So paint that white also, and now we have the upper and lower teeth, which you can manipulate to make rows and what's the other one, E, and whatever, any other shape you want. So I'm just going to drag that to the default, the reference one that I'm dragging out and duplicating and creating all this. So I drag to that point. So okay, so I was hoping I'll be able to do all the mouth shapes, and I think I'll just wait it out and do all the mouth shapes. Initially I wanted this video to just be 20 minutes long, but it seems it might be longer, so let me just do the entire mouth shapes, and then we would continue in a different part. So just be patient with me a little. Oh, this is the second part. So in the third part, I believe we'll be doing the brow and I think the other ones. I don't know where that video will stop, but for now, I believe it's the brow that is next after the teeth, after the mouth at least. So now we can drag the teeth, both teeth behind the lips. Good. Drag it behind the lips, and since there's an opening, let's just paint over it. Let's paint we use the back of the mouth, that is inside the mouth, the color inside the mouth. We'll paint that so that at least it's not just empty. Good. So you place it behind the teeth, so behind the lips and behind the teeth, and then boom, we have S. That's S sound. Okay, now I think this is O or sound. This should be O sound. Yes. So now the same thing. You try to draw what you you try to manipulate the mouth shape to fit in. This time we do not need teeth, so you delete the teeth that we created. So you duplicate what the initial file, that's the reference group, and then you delete the teeth, just so that we still have the original with the teeth for manipulation eventually. So you widen the mouth, but in this case we have a tongue, and I believe this is the first tongue, so you have to draw that manually and paint that, and then you place it behind the lip, and then you paint the background and you place it behind the tongue, that is behind the lips and behind the tongue, and you have an O. Okay, when I'm drawing the tongue is actually wrong. The tongue is supposed to be lower, because for the O, so it's lower, and that I did adjust it. When you paint it, you adjust it, and then you place it behind the lip, and then you can paint the internal and the inside of the mouth. That's all for this one, and it's for all. Okay, so we're doing l now. It's the same method. Manipulate the shape to get the mouth shape, and then after that, but in this case we're using the r, so we're just using the same rule, duplicating that, and then we're removing the lower teeth, and then now we'll just add a tongue. And I believe we manipulated the lip a little, just a little, because r is not far from l. So and it is the lower lip that will manipulate in this case, because the upper lip in this case does not move, so you do not have to. You just need to manipulate the lower lip. You drag the tongue and the color behind the tongue, behind the lip and the teeth, and then you have a lip. I've actually done a tutorial, a mouth tutorial, which was why I did not initially want. That was why I was trying to avoid recreating the mouth, because I know it takes a little bit of time, but I just decided to do it anyway. But there's another tutorial for that, and I believe in the future I'm going to be working on a tutorial like drawing the mouth shape manually, like actually going in and sketching and drawing the shapes instead of manipulating it the way I'm doing right now. If you need that video as soon as possible, then maybe you could just leave a comment in the comment box, and maybe I will opt this timeline and make it very soon. So it is still the same thing that you do for this is the. So I did not follow the reference in this case, because this I believe the can be done better than the way it is in the reference. The reference is fine, but for some reason, whenever I'm animating, like, or whenever I'm using it, it doesn't hit as much as the one I actually try to manipulate here. So I decided off that and made it that one. So now we're at E. There's a tongue, there's a teeth, there's the lips are manipulated. So that's just basically it. So I picked the R because it's close, at least the mouth shape, the lip shape is close enough, and then I got rid of the lower teeth, and now I'm going to be drawing the tongue and placing. And this time you could just pick from the initial tongue you made, which is fine, but in this case I believe I decided to just draw it, and then because I also use this for so I decided to draw it instead. Okay, so we have the tongue, we paint it. I'm sampling the color from the reference. And you paint the internal part of the mouth, and you move it behind the tongue, and the tongue behind the teeth, and the teeth is behind the lips. So boom. And now we have E, and now R, we're just going to duplicate E, because I is a wider E. So you duplicate E, and then you manipulate the lower lip to be wider. You move the tongue down a little, and then you have R. Just take note of how I am manipulating the character, the lips. Okay, now we're doing one of them. Anyway, the reason why I have to manipulate it independently before I drag it and place it in the group, the group that is named. I could easily just create it and then name what I created, but I think it's just better to just drag it in and delete the old one. So if you just go in and delete the old one without putting something in, groups do not save, they do not keep layers, they do not keep the I don't know how to put it, but it would delete the entire group, so that group will disappear. So if there is nothing in a group, a group cannot be empty. So a group cannot be empty. There could be one object in a group, it will be fine. There could be one part in a group and it will be fine, but the moment there is nothing inside it, it disappears, like it deletes. So you have to put something in before you delete the initial thing. So just take note of that. So now I am doing the O, which there is a tongue, so I could just use one of the tongues I have created, but I decided to draw it manually, or I left it out. Whichever way, it can work without the tongue, so just don't worry about that too much. So this is where I went back and fixed the wool shape. Yeah, this is where I went back to fix it, and then I made it a bit tighter, tightened it a little. And then you do the upper lip too. Boom, now we have wool. And now I have to clean up the excess paint behind the mouth. Ooh. Okay, now we have Phil has the lip and it has a teeth biting the lower lip. So we're just going to work that in. So we duplicated one of I think we duplicated the rear, and then now we manipulate the lower lip upwards, bring it upwards. Good. And then now we just need to put the crease. He's biting his lip, so there should be a crease. So normally I would clean this and just draw the crease manually, but yeah, I just went in and just put in lines, so that works too. Good. And that's how you drag it to the appropriate place, and I did the old ones. And then this is basically but a bit wider, with a wider and lower lip. So that's exactly what I did. Manipulated it a bit smaller actually. And then this is me. We can use our what we just created as a so we could use that. M doesn't have a teeth, so you delete the teeth and then you manipulate it closely together. The upper lip and the lower lip, you manipulate it closer together, and then you get rid of the crease. So that's basically what I did. So now I deleted the crease. Bring the lips as close to each other as possible. In fact, you actually drag it into the upper lip sort of. And then now we have a M. So you drag the upper lip above the lower lip. Okay, so now we have all the visions we need for our puppet. So we delete the reference, the one that we're using to duplicate. So now we have everything we need, at least for the mouth. So I'm just going to draw the curtains here just for now. This is part 2 of how to create a puppet from scratch, from like A to Z, a very comprehensive guide for how to create an Adobe character animator puppet. So thank you for watching. Please give us a like, it will help us to reach more people. Give us a sub so that you do not miss any of our updates. So thank you for watching, and bye for now.